You guys are going to think I'm fucking insane. But Conor McGregor, I think, is living a life filled with regret and depression. And I know from the outside looking in, Conor McGregor probably has the life that most of us envy, right? Hundreds of millions in the bank. He's on yachts. He's in movies. He's making money hand over fist. He has businesses all over the place. He's being begged by both fans and the UFC to come back and fight again. And literally every time he drops any information about fighting or tweeting or combat sports or anything, the world kind of goes crazy. The MMA community online goes crazy and essentially makes him a headline. Not to mention the fact that he can always look back and have a solidified place in UFC history. The first champ. 9 out of the 10 best-selling pay-per-views in UFC history had Conor McGregor as part of it. The guy who brought more eyeballs to the UFC than probably anybody, probably every other UFC fighter in history combined. I don't know if that's true, but I wouldn't be shocked if that is true. And yet, I feel so certain about the fact that right now he is living in a state of depression and he's living in a state of regret. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. But before I do, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button, it helps with the YouTube algorithm and helps grows the channel. So where am I getting this from? Why am I saying this? And I think it goes back to Conor McGregor being Conor McGregor, being a fighter at heart, right? I think Conor right now is having, kind of almost a midlife crisis. You know what I mean? Being shown like cocaine, drugs, all these accusations are out there. Whether they're true or not, I don't know. I kind of think they are. But I think it goes back to something even bigger and deeper than that, which is I think Conor realizes that he is at the end of his fighting window, right? And of course, he could probably do fights like this with Michael Chandler. What does it really mean, right? He could probably do money fights in boxing or in bare knuckle or in any of these promotions. Get a ton of eyeballs, get a ton of attention, and make a ton of money doing it. But I think in the back of Conor McGregor's head, and I think in the back of a lot of fighters' heads when they get done with their sport, when they're in the position that Conor is in right now, he's got the money, but I think there's always going to be a question of, did I go as far as I could have, right? Did I do the best that I could? Did I become the best fighter I could be? I know a lot of you guys are going to be like, oh, bullshit, he's got money in the bank. How's he ever going to... I'm just telling you, right? A lot of professional athletes, a lot of professional, people who compete in the highest levels of sports, there's always those questions in the back of their mind. Did I do everything I could have to prepare for this fight, to prepare for this, these playoffs, to whatever the thing is, right? And I think Conor McGregor, ever since he took that fight with Floyd Mayweather, has never truly given it his best. Because prior to the Floyd Mayweather fight, Conor seemed pretty unstoppable. Now, granted, he has that one loss. He had that one loss prior to Nate Diaz, and he never really defended the lightweight belt. But the dude was on a tear, right? He was beating people like Jose Aldo, who at the time looked unbeatable. Knocked him out in like 13 seconds, right? He had some incredible performances against Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier, names right now that are like at the top tier of the UFC. And it's even been said that he was Khabib's toughest fight. Out of all the guys that Khabib basically ran through, Conor gave him the most difficulty. That's what everybody says. That's what Khabib says. And you look at that, that was after the Mayweather fight, the Mayweather boxing match, where McGregor made his money. Hands down. No doubt about that. But there's probably always going to be something in his head, something in the back of his head being like, if I never left, right? If I never focused on boxing, if I stayed, if I defended the belt, if I trained this, if I never done that, where could I be? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, right? People can say they're Conor fans. People can shout from the rooftops of everything that he's done for the sport, which is a lot. But he'll know deep down in his heart and in his soul that he didn't become the best version of himself, that he didn't become the best fighter he could be because he went after money, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But, like, deep down, he is that competitor, right? If he's even, like, 50% of what Dana says he is, the guy who always shows up, the guy who says yes to everybody. If he was that guy, or if he's even a little bit that guy, he's probably going through his mind being like, man, if I hadn't taken all this time off, right? If I had stayed focused, if I hadn't gone over to boxing, I might be going down in the sport as the greatest lightweight of all time, the GOAT, right? And maybe he makes the top 20 in some people's lists, but the sport in and of itself, I feel, at least the hardcore fans have kind of moved on from Conor McGregor. In the sense that, like, the sport's solid right now. People still appreciate him. They appreciate everything he's ever done for the sport, like I've said before. But, people are finding Alex Pereira interesting. Dustin Poirier. Conor McGregor is the guy that brings casual fans back in. You know what I mean? But the hardcores, like, they've moved past him, right? Because he's not on their list of top guys anymore. So, I feel like there's two parts to this. Number one is the fact that, like I said, I feel Conor McGregor lives with a little bit of regret, with the fact that, like I said, he didn't become the best version of himself because he took the money fight. And if he had stuck it out, he didn't go over to boxing, right? He'd probably have the same amount of money by now as what that money fight did with Floyd Mayweather, but it would have taken longer, right? And it would have taken more beatings and more CTE and all this other kind of stuff. So why do all that when you can get the same result in one fight? Like I said, I don't blame him for choosing the money, right? That's what makes sense financially. But I just feel like the competitor in him, that guy, that hungry guy who's coming up and virtually unstoppable essentially before that boxing match, that guy's still in there. And he is kind of like, what could I have been if I hadn't taken that fight, right? How would I have done against Khabib if I had stayed locked in? What would people be saying now, towards the end of my career, if I hadn't, taken so many years off? If I hadn't lost 2 fights to Poirier, if I hadn't lost, that fight to Khabib. Because right now everybody thinks that, like, I'll tell you, most people think that Conor McGregor post 2017 is mid, right? And a lot of people are saying even before that he didn't fight anybody really good, which that's not true, right? He fought some of the best guys in the world. Some I would call them household names, right? Jose Aldo, Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier, just to name a few, and he beat them all, right? But it's just one of these things that, those athletes, when they get to the end of their career, when all is said and done, when the sun sets on their career, which, like, even if Conor wasn't isn't doing coke and isn't completely distracted, even if he had stayed locked in, he's 35 now, he would be coming to the end of his career no matter what. And so I think now he's come to the realization, look, I'm past my prime. Even if I take shit super seriously, I ain't competing with those hungry guys who are at the top of the lightweight division or who are at the top of the welterweight division. I'm just not, right? He's not beating Leon. He's not beating Usman. He's not beating, Shavkat, right? He's not beating Islam. He's probably not beating Dustin again. He's probably not beating, Gaethje. He's probably not beating Arman, right? He's not beating Oliveira. So even if he had stayed locked in, those would be tough fights. But I just feel right now like all this behavior that Conor is exhibiting, somehow it feels like it's a midlife crisis or something, and he's just living with the regret of not knowing whether he became the best version of himself. And he'll get over it, right? He's got a lot of money in the bank. He's secured his family's future, probably generational wealth, right? But the competitor in him is like, my time's up, and I didn't do all I could do, right? I didn't become the best I could be. I didn't fight Khabib. The best version of me did not face Khabib, right? The best version of me didn't face Poirier the second time. So that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Do you think Conor's living with regret? Am I just crazy and just reading way too much into it? Let me know. And if you wouldn't mind, like I said before, hit the like and subscribe button. Helps the algorithm, helps grow the channel. Thank you guys. We'll see you next time.